Hello, my name is Cal Laura, Waukee Area Chamber of Commerce Government Affairs Board Chair, and on behalf of the Waukee Area Chamber of Commerce, we would like to welcome our chamber members and Waukee residents to this virtual Waukee Candidate Forum hosted by the Chamber's Government Affairs Committee. The Waukee Area Chamber of Commerce is a non-profit organization, and that is hosting this event as a service to our members and community. We have with us now the candidates for Dallas County Supervisor. They are Supervisor Mark Hansen and candidate Larry Lyon. And we would like to begin by giving you gentlemen 2 minutes to introduce yourself to those viewing our forum. And we'll begin with Supervisor Hansen.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank the Chamber of Commerce and the Government Committee for allowing me to be here and the invitation. I think issues are really important to be shared, platforms and ideas, so it's a great service to your membership. It's a very important election, whether it's locally or nationally. People are concerned about taxation, about public health, about county services, any number of issues that people are concerned about. And because it's such an important election, I think it's good to have experience and bring that to the community. I graduated from Mankato State University and I started my professional career in California, where I met my wife. And we decided over 20 years ago to bring our young family to Dallas County. My wife Tamara grew up in Dallas Center. I lived in Waukee, so both my boys graduated Waukee High School. And when I first came to Iowa, or to Dallas County, things were so much different. The census had us at 40,000 people. And we're going through the census today, and the census is gonna have us really close to 100,000 people. So things have changed. My first job in Iowa was to work as Vice President of Membership for the Association of Business and Industry. So I learned some very key lessons about business in those years. I also served as the Executive Director for the Iowa Association of Area Agencies on Aging, where I learned about issues related to older adults and concerns that they've got and quality of life and how families should work together. So, and I've served on the board. I'm in my 4th term. I've been 16 years on the Board of Supervisors. So I've brought proven leadership to manage the growth that this county has seen. I love this county. I have an interest in continuing to serve, and I will be asking at the end of the forum that the citizens hope to re-elect me as a member of the board and vote for Mark Hansen on November 3rd.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Larry Lyon.
Thank you also to the Chamber of Commerce, the Waukee Chamber of Commerce. You folks do great work in our community, and I want you to know that I really appreciate it. And I also want to thank my opponent, Mark Hansen. I've known Mark for a long time. We pretty much came to town at the same time. We both raised our families here. Mark is a man of integrity and honor and has served the city and the county well. And I called him early on when I decided to run for this race, and I said I plan to run, and let's keep it a gentleman's race. So there just really isn't any room for partisan politics at this level of government, in my opinion. And I want to thank Mark for running a nice, clean race, and it will be up to the citizens of Dallas County to make the decision on who serves them best. My name is Larry Lyon. We came here in 1996, my wife Lori and I. We moved into an acreage because we're both rural kids on Boone Drive, right across from Easton Elementary, and we looked at that Easton Elementary building that had just opened the year before, and we asked each other, who on earth would ever build a school out in the middle of nowhere like this? Little did we know at the time that we were in the path of progress, and it wasn't but a year later that Boone Drive was paved, the sod farm behind us turned to houses, the cornfield to the south of us was homes. But we've been truly blessed to raise a family here. The schools have given our 3 sons world-class education. My wife Lori is an educator as well and currently serves on the Waukee School Board. I'm very proud of the things that she's accomplished there. we are, as I mentioned, in the path of progress, and it's not going to stop anytime soon. But I'm also blessed to be operating a small business in Waukee. We own a small remodeling company, and this community has been so good to me and my family. I just am so thankful for that. And my dad said many, many years ago in Oldwine, he had the local hardware store, and my mom was a teacher there. He said, community service is the rent we pay for space on the earth. And that's always been very, very important to me. And so early on, shortly after moving to Waukee, I got involved in serving the community and moved here in 96. In 1998, I ran for city council to fill out a term for another council person. And then in early 2000s, got on the school board here, served 11 years total on our school board, a very rewarding experience to me. And then got the call and come back to city council and have served on the Waukee City Council since 2015. I have learned a lot about growing things, about growing school districts and growing a city, and now a growing county. So I'm looking forward to serving.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Lyon. The next question that we'll begin with is, what qualifies you to hold the office of Dallas County Supervisor? We'll begin with you, Mark Hansen.
Well, certainly I've had 16 years on the board, and I've led us through this growth. We've gone from 40,000 to 100,000 people. And we've had the health scare that's been going on, and the county can't close its doors. We still have to maintain roads and bridges. So the engineer worked to establish individual units for every worker within the road department, so they weren't traveling together to continue that work. We're in the middle of election right now, so we have to allow for the voting to occur in this circumstance. We have to continue to do the real estate records. We have to continue to do the motor vehicle records. We have a public health department that's been doing all the contact tracing and the involvement with the communities in the public health along with the state public health. We are still required to do everything for mental health and community services. So we work together collaboratively. I mentioned I worked with the Business Association and an older adult association. My early life in California, I worked for a trade show management company. I was an operations manager on 2 of the top large shows in the country. And I also worked for Smith Buckland and Associates, which is the largest association management firm in the country, working with trade associations. So I bring a level of experience and command of issues that I will match up with my opponent and anybody else. I've served this community, and we continue to serve the community. And I should tell you that the people in Dallas County should be blessed with the other elected officials that we've got and the key management that we've got in place. We are running a very efficient county, and I think every citizen should be proud of what Dallas County's accomplished.
Okay, thank you. Larry Lyon, what qualifies you to hold the office of Dallas County Supervisor?
Well, Mark is right. We are truly blessed to live in Dallas County. The quality of life here, I don't think, can be equaled anywhere else. And I think Mark's done a fine job of keeping the county going. There are a lot of 13 different functions in this county that need to be managed. And to their credit, they've done that on a very tight tax budget. Because of my experience growing school districts and growing a school district and growing a city, I have a pretty good sense of what it is we need to be looking out for. Years ago, we voted to do this radical thing, which was extend the University Avenue trunk sewer. And it was a huge investment. But we knew at that time that we had to spend money to make money, and it was the linchpin to the growth in this area. It's what caused developers to come here to build homes. When those developers built homes, we needed schools. And that process is still going on and doesn't show any signs of slowing down anytime soon. Likewise for the city. You have to be careful about where you put things. You can't just allow things to develop in a random fashion. There has to be a method to that so-called madness. I believe that it's time now to look ahead. I believe that for some time there's been discussion of adding 2 more supervisors to the team, thinking there should maybe be 5 instead of 3. Anytime 2 of these supervisors in our county get together to talk about something, they've reached a quorum, and they can't do that. So if we had 5, we wouldn't have to be concerned about that. We could discuss some things. We could make some plans. I believe that maybe a better option would be that we form a county manager position, much like a city. If a city had 100,000 residents in it, you would hire a city manager, and that city manager would take care of the day-to-day functions of the city, or the county in this case, and would carry out the vision of the supervisors. I believe that's where we're heading. I believe that we need a county manager to carry out that vision, to carry out those daily tasks and plan for the efficient use of the resources in the county, while supervisors begin to look ahead and say, where is the big warehouse project going to go? Where do we need to make sure that water is, so that it's prepared, so that as cities grow, the water is present and the infrastructure is there? How do we make sure that we maintain the farm-to-market roads for our farmers that are so important? Because let's face it, we're still primarily a rural county, right? Let's not forget about those farm families and those farm businesses that also need the county's attention. So I'll stop there.
Okay, all right. Now, there may be some voters who may not be familiar with the job of county supervisor. Mr. Lyon, we'll begin with you. How do you see the job as Dallas County Supervisor?
Well, I think it's an important job, and I just made a little video about this on my Facebook page, Lion for Supervisor. It's amazing, and I think Mark will agree with me on this, how few people really know how county government works and what supervisors do, managing the various departments, law enforcement, roads, engineering, the auditor, the treasurer, the recorder. They're all very, very important functions. Sorry, Cal, give me the question again.
Okay. Explain to us, how you understand the job.
Oh, yeah.
Dallas County Supervisor.
I think there are going to be some very difficult decisions made. Again, we talked about tax. We've been talking about taxes a lot tonight, and the supervisors are very proud that they've held the tax rate. And I think that's a wonderful thing. Same thing in the city of Waukee. We're hoping maybe we can drop our tax rate again by another 10 cents. But the bottom line is, we're in an affluent area. We need to hold tax rates. We need to also provide adequate levels of service. I believe that we need to start taking a closer look at affordable housing, for instance. That doesn't just come at no cost. I think that if you lived in this county and have lived here for the last 30 years, you deserve to continue to live here. You shouldn't be priced out of the market. If you work here in a job and you work at one of our fast food establishments, one of our restaurants, one of our car dealers, I believe that you should be able to afford to live in our community. You shouldn't have to get on a bus or get in your car and drive clear across town to get to the point where you'll find some affordable housing. We're working on that in the city of Waukee, and I think that we need to make sure that we carry that theme throughout the county, make sure that as the county grows, that we always have affordable housing for those folks, for everybody who lives here.
Okay. Supervisor Hanson, why don't you tell us about the job of Dallas County Supervisor?
Well, the main responsibility of the supervisors is to establish a budget and to set the tax rate to make sure that the services that are required by Iowa code are provided by the County of Dallas. We make appointments to boards and commissions, we enter into contracts on behalf of the county, and we are responsible for making sure that the roads and bridges are, in fact, we hire an engineer to run the road department. In a media interview, my opponent did say that the role is to oversee some of the various functions, the auditor, the treasurer, emergency management, the sheriff. The fact is, we don't oversee them. They are independent elected officials. We will sit down with them and work with them and determine what their needs are to run their department, their space, their staff, and set a budget for them. But once we budget for that, then they run their departments. He had also mentioned that you'd oversee emergency management and public health and conservation, but there's a board of conservation, there's a board of public health, there's an emergency management commission, there's a Veterans Affairs Commission. We make appointments to those commissions, but the role of the supervisor is not to oversee other elected officials, but to work with them to make sure that we deliver efficient and effective services. He also just mentioned that he'd like to go to a county manager. Now, there are county manager forms of government, but we do employ a director of finance and operations. We do have a HR professional that are highly compensated individuals that work with the board to help in the budgeting and the running of the affairs of the county. So that is our main role, is setting a budget, fiscal responsibility, and then interfacing with citizens that might have issues with a road or with mental health or public health, and try to get answers for them if they've got issues, but it is not to oversee the other elected officials.
Okay. Well, let's move on to, let's say that you had the opportunity to sit down with the governor as a representative of Dallas County. What one topic would you bring up with the governor? We'll begin with you, Mr. Lyon.
Well, of course, COVID comes to mind, first of all. Second of all, education comes to mind. Education is the one topic that every civil servant always wants to do something about, but it seems to have the greatest difficulty in dealing with. Our schools have become really large social service agencies. My wife is a dedicated teacher who teaches kids who are struggling to read and brings them back up to grade level, and she's so incredibly passionate and good about what she does. But she is teaching online on Zoom a couple of weeks ago. And while she's teaching, there are, I think, 9 students on her screen. While she's teaching, in the background, behind one of the students, is a police officer and a police dog entering this child's home. We feed kids, we attend to their mental health, we clothe them if necessary, we keep them safe. But if we can't keep them safe, what's it all about? We've got to take care of education and give it the resources it needs. And we've got to make sure that they're safe at home, for starters. If I could talk to the governor, what I would really like to do, I'd like to ask the governor, what are we going to do to make sure that politics is not a dirty term? What are we going to do to make sure that mothers, when their children say, hey, I want to get into politics, don't cringe? What are we going to do to get back to civility? I have a friend who is the polar opposite of me in his political stance, but yet we respect each other. And I so enjoy the emails that we exchange. And, you know, in the end, what we've discovered that how we see government and how we see life, really, we're not all that far apart. So what I'd want to ask the governor is, what can we do to get back to civility and integrity and a respect for each other?
Okay. Thank you, Larry. Mark, what would you bring up with the governor if you had a chance to talk with her?
Well, there's any number of topics I'd like to have a conversation with the governor about, but I will say that I do serve Dallas County residents on a number of third-party boards. I serve on the Metropolitan Planning Organization, which looks at transportation planning and corridor preservation for the future. I serve on New Opportunities Board, which runs Head Start and weatherization programs, and I also serve on the Greater Dallas County Economic Development Alliance, so looking at economic development issues. I do serve on the Central Iowa Workforce Development, looking at workforce issues and trying to make sure that we've got the right workers for the businesses that are coming to Dallas County and are locating here. But in a specific answer to your question, the one board that I've been on, and I'm the past chair of the North Raccoon River Watershed Management Coalition. That was 13 counties, all the way up to Palo Alto County, looking at the North Raccoon River. And it included all the soil and water conservation districts, as well as multiple cities. And in your earlier panel, they talked about bringing city and agriculture together. And I tell you that the city of West Des Moines and the city of Des Moines were part of that discussion, along with the Dallas County communities of Adel and Van Meter and Perry. So I'd sit down and talk to the governor about all the good work that is actually happening in that Raccoon River watershed, which is a beautiful watershed, and the work that's going on with making sure that there is going to be water available to these growing communities that are going to continue to grow. So I'd like to have a discussion about water quality and water resources with the governor, because that will be an issue that we will continue to have to address here.
Okay, thanks, Mark. Now, if either of you gentlemen are elected to that position, what will be your top 3 priorities as Dallas County Commissioner? Larry Lyon, let's start with you, please.
Well, I've already mentioned one. That is I think a county manager is a good thing. I think that would be a good place to start. I also believe that we need to create a comprehensive plan for economic development. It's a critical stage that we're in, even here, right here in Waukee. We're fortunate that we have businesses come knocking on our door, almost unsolicited in some cases, because they see this is where the growth is, and this is where the workforce is, and this is where they see quality schools and quality of life for employees. So I think that growth is hitting the county now, and I think it's important for us to create an economic development plan that will attract the types of employers that we want here in Dallas County. I also believe that we can't lose sight of the rural aspects of our county to make sure that we preserve those farm-to-market roads. I think also our rural families deserve to have access to broadband services. I think we should all have access to those. I think that our Dallas County leaders should work with city leaders in the area, in our county also, to provide that affordable housing that I was talking about earlier. I also believe that, just as a follow-up point, I'll make sure I get this in, I believe that leadership's not easy. I believe that there are some decisions that I've made in the past that probably weren't very popular, and maybe I would look at differently today. I think probably Mr. Hansen has had a similar situation. I know it's happened to me. But sometimes some of the decisions we make are not popular, but we do them for what we hope will be for the greater good of our communities.
Okay, thank you. Mark, what would be your top 3 major issues that face Dallas County beginning in the year 2021?
Well, I mean, there are many, many issues across the spectrum of issues, but if I had to pick the top 2 or 3, I'd want to, I agree with Mr. Lyon that economic development, a plan for economic development, a plan for growth. When I started, we had $1 billion worth of taxable value in Dallas County. Today, we have $6.5 billion of taxable value in Dallas County. We have seen economic development, and we have planned for it. I would also say we need to maintain the facilities that we have. We built the north loop of the bike trail to make a nice circular trail. We just put $1.2 million into the bike trail between Adel to Redfield, which was the original asphalt. So maintaining our infrastructure, that's built infrastructure, that includes roads and bridges and the engineering. And I would also say, just to continue to have efficient and effective government, look for different ways to deliver those services. We went to appointment only during COVID-related things, and the technology available to be able to do those transactions that you'd have to do with the county online. We've made great strides there. And I'm gonna touch on taxes too. I mean, we need to maintain low taxes. We are the second lowest county tax rate in Iowa. And when I looked at my own tax bill in Waukee, I saw that 86% of that tax bill, my property tax bill, went to the school district and the city. This county collected 10.23% of my tax. We've been able to lower that tax and keep that tax low because we've added the new value and we haven't just overspent. When the sales tax came into play, we said we would reduce the levy by 55% if the sales tax, local option sales tax came into play. We lowered the levy, the rural levy, from 3.95 down to 2.43. And when I first started, or back to 2008 anyway, the county tax levy was 9.7 something. Today it's, I may not have the right number, but it's probably 4 or 5 now on the county levy. So those are important things we're still having to provide services, increased services, but yet we do so efficiently and effectively. And again, that number struck me. 86% of my local property tax went to the school district and the city. We run county services, things that the cities don't do, things that the schools don't do. So we try that's my answer.
Okay, thanks, Mark. Our time together is coming to a close. We would like to give each of you 2 minutes to make a closing statement, if you would, please. Mr. Lyon, we'll begin with you.
Well, I think, again, this is a very important election and a very important time for our country, our state, our county, our city. And again, it's my pleasure to serve. And things can only improve from here, right? These are trying times. We work so hard to provide the best quality of lives for our family, and I'm truly honored and blessed to be able to serve and want to continue to serve in this new capacity. I want to encourage everybody to please vote on November 3rd. And again, thank you to the Chamber, and thank you, Cal, for moderating tonight.
You're most welcome. Mark.
Well, I'm deeply committed to continuing to serve Dallas County. I do want to thank the Chamber for inviting me and having us here today. I'm running on a proven record of success and leadership. I was part of a bond issue that passed that restored the courthouse in Adel, Iowa. I'm part of the group that got the bond issue passed for the new law enforcement center on the 4th attempt, and I would tell you that I learned a lot of lessons in that. I learned how to listen to communities and try to help educate why we needed, given the growth of our county, that law enforcement center. I mentioned the north loop of the Raccoon River Valley Trail. We upgraded the county farm facilities and have a human services campus there now, where we've got our E911, our emergency management, our public health, our mental health, Department of Human Services. And the 570 acres of the farm we rent to the Des Moines Area Community College, where they run the agricultural programming for DMAC at the Dallas County Farm, where they teach agriculture. And that rent that they pay, cash rent, it goes in a fund that maintains the buildings at the farm. So that's new revenue to the county that isn't taxpayers paying for the upkeep on that. We developed a wetland bank, which is adjacent to our Vos Conservation Area. So when development is occurring, they've got to have wetland credits. So we're adding wetland to our county. So I think the work for me is not done. I think we need to have leadership collaborative with the citizens, with the communities, listening to good ideas. And I would ask for the support of your community and citizens when they go and vote on November 3rd, or if they vote by absentee. Then I hope that proven track record of leadership, I've earned their vote. I feel I've earned their vote for re-election for County Supervisor on November 3rd. Thank you for having me.
Well, on behalf of the Waukee Area Chamber of Commerce, I would like to thank each of you for speaking to us today.
Thank you, Cal.